decide who's going to talk. Frats!
Okay. What's up, everybody? Today we're going to be covering conventional deadlift setup. We're going to be going over a few key points in your setup all the way up to when we're actually grabbing the bar and getting ready to execute the lift. We're going to cover feet, intention of everything, lower body all the way down to our feet. We're going to cover upper body. We're going to cover lowering yourself to the bar as well as breathing and bracing. And then we're going to cut you off right there. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, cool. All right, guys, first thing that we're going to cover for conventional deadlift setup, we're doing these in order of actual execution. So we're going to start with the feet and lower body. So we're going to talk about stance width and angle of your feet in your conventional deadlift setup. So a pretty good rule of thumb that I like to use and the other coaches here like to use to have people find their stance width if they're not sure is we simply, we're going to take a step forward and we're going to get in, nope, that's not what I wanted to do.
You said take a step forward.
And get ready to jump. Remember we just talked about that?
Yeah, there.
So generally speaking, what we like to do to have clients find a conventional deadlift stance with is we have our clients take a step forward and get ready to brace as if they're going to perform a vertical jump. Or as Brian stated a minute ago off camera, is he likes to have people stand on a box or a bench and step down to do a vertical jump. So either way, wherever your feet end up when you get into that brace position to perform the jump is a good general starting point to find your stance width for the conventional deadlift. So once we have that, we're going to assume that Amber has already done that. She's going to come up to the bar here and she's going to get in her stance width. So for her, it is just inside shoulder width. All right, this is going to be narrow enough and wide enough for her that she is able to have a neutral posture from hips to knees to ankles, right? Her stance isn't so wide that when she gets down into her start position that her knees are falling inside of her ankles, all right? We don't want that because then we're going to be sacrificing some stability and we're not going to be able to maintain good rooting in our feet in that position. So from there, we're going to talk about toe angle. So generally speaking, I like to have people just point their feet straight forward. This is going to allow us to create more torque at the hips. It's going to allow us to have a little bit more active rooting through the feet, which is going to help us create more torque through the hips, get the glutes turned on a little bit more, which is going to help us, increase force output when we're actually going through the lift. So from here, we're going to talk about bar position relative with our body, and I'm going to let Amber actually cover this.
All right, so pretty basic, finding that bar position. Generally speaking, we're going to want the bar over midfoot. This is going to change depending on your anatomical build, but for most individuals, midfoot is a really good starting point of where you'd like to place the bar. So if you're looking down at the bar, it's going to cross that point of, typically people will say like where your shoelaces line up, just behind the balls of your feet. That's where you're going to produce the most power from. And from that point, we would then move on to intention of rooting.
I think something else that kind of piggybacks off of that is just good general guideline to knowing if the bar is too close to your body is when you actually go to wedge into the bar when you're getting ready to execute the lift. If you see, like on video, this is a good reason why we video all of our lifts. If you see that you are rolling the bar forward in your deadlift setup, that is probably a good indicator that the bar is a little bit too close to the body. If you can visually see that when you wedge into the bar, our shins are kicking the bar forward as we're getting ready to execute the lift. If that's something you see, we might need to step back an inch or so that way we can keep that bar still when we're getting ready to execute the lift. So last thing that we're going to cover in this portion is rooting of the feet. So as I kind of said earlier a little bit, rooting through the feet is going to be a little bit more active with a conventional deadlift setup. We might see a little bit more supination at the foot, a little bit more gripping of the floor. The biggest thing that I like to have my lifters focus on is keeping your damn toes down. I see a lot of people when they set up, they like to bring their toes up and they move their feet around, and this is going to be sacrificing a lot of efficiency, and it's going to affect the execution of the lift when we get to heavier weights. So I like to tell people to drive the big toe into the floor, spread your toes out, but make sure you keep your toes down, all right? A lot of people get super heel heavy, right? They get into a habit of pushing off their heels. It turns the movement into a stiff-legged deadlift, so we want to make sure that we're keeping our pressure over midfoot, driving that big toe into the floor, and maintaining that as best as possible. So that covers everything from stance width, bar position relative to your body, and rooting. We're going to move on to the next portion.
One quick note on rooting. If you remember with our squat video, yeah, you're rooting your feet, but it starts at your hips.
Yep.
Don't forget that. So even anytime we talk about rooting, it's being accentuated at the feet,
Yep.
but it's starting at the hips.
Hell yeah. That was a good word. Hell yeah.
Thanks, man. Cool. All right, so we are going to go over upper body stuff, and we're going to start a little demonstration about your arms. So these, I think everyone has heard, right? When you're deadlifting, I mean, you see it a lot, biceps pop, right? What do you do to counter that? You flex your triceps. Well, let's just show you use a chain to show you the reasoning behind that and what happens. So if you're gonna pick up a chain, right, it's loose. As you pick it up, every link is taut. And then if you have a load at the bottom, it's tight, right? And it works like a lever, okay? Think your arm like that. You're not gonna loosey pick it up, that's not gonna work. You want it here. It starts at the top and all the tension is initiated there. So keep it going that way.
After that, you want to keep your arms long when you're deadlifting. So you're up here, like Brian says, at the top. You already got your lower body set. You're here. You want to flex your triceps down completely, keeping them both flexed. That's going to keep people from sitting there and bending. You'll see a lot of people will grab the bar, especially with their underhand, and they bend it and they don't lock it down. And that's where you see stuff rip up.
If you ever watch a video and your bicep is curling, stop it immediately.
Yeah, you need to work on making sure everything is flexed. Very tight triceps, it's gonna keep your biceps safe. And no one wants to rupture your bicep deadlifting, all right? So, flex the triceps. Next thing we kinda wanna do is, I like to tell people to flare your lats out. So, like in bodybuilding, do like a lat spread, getting your lats nice and wide here. Arms flexed nice and wide. That's gonna keep a lot of tightness and stability in your back and activate your lats the whole time.
You wanna show your little leg? 'Cause that's
Yeah,
what you're doing.
so
when he
for
sets
me,
up.
when I set up, personally, I come here before, I do it a little bit before I flex my triceps, but I come out, flex wide, back's nice and wide here, tight, and then I flex my triceps and reverse shrug down like this while keeping that tension of width here. So when I go down and grab the bar, my back's already nice and tight. I don't have to sit there and I'm not all loosey-goosey in the bottom and then have to try and create tightness, which is not gonna help your lift. You're not gonna transfer very much power that way.
So we'll just touch on, he said the reverse shrug, right? And there's 3 different ways to say this. Well, there's a lot of ways to say this, but we'll just go over a few. Anti-shrug, that's Chris's go-to. The reverse shrug, or like the explanation here is that cue of lats to the back pockets, shoulders, pockets, whatever, that whole thing, right? You're pulling here, you're externally rotating, and you're pulling down.
And something that's
Downward.
really important to state from the start is sometimes you see a lot of people, they'll actually retract their shoulder blades. So as they flare, you can't flare your lats by retracting your shoulder blades very well.
No.
So you actually need to think about protracting, and that's gonna create a nice big wide spread back here. So don't retract, don't squeeze those shoulder blades together. We wanna protract, and that'll help you get nice and long and big lats.
And then from here, we'll start going into intent, because he kind of touched on that. That's the lowering to the bar with intent, and we'll continue going over lowering to the bar. All right, let's go over intent and lowering yourself to the bar. So we'll start off with breathing and bracing. You can breathe and brace in 3 different areas. You can do it at the top, while you lower yourself, or when you're already at the bar. We'll start at the top. You see guys like Larry Wheels or John Hack, they're very efficient at this, they're very good at deadlifting. You are not John Hack, you are not Larry Wheels, especially if you're a beginning lifter. I believe Larry's gone over this in a video actually where he talks about he didn't start out this way. If you are not familiar with your setup, you should not be doing this, period. However, there are outliers. So if you're gonna take your breath at the top, you're gonna set the breath at the top, and your setup needs to be ready to go when you hit the bar. Go. And then you're up, okay? Again, if you're very experienced, you might be able to do that. If you're a beginning lifter, you need to learn how to set up first before you attempt that, even to begin with. Another way is as you lower yourself to the bar. And keep in mind, all three of these, you have to be going down nice and tight with intent to deadlift. Not just, I mean, think about it. You can just, and then you gonna sit in? No, okay? You're gonna come down with intent, already tight and ready to go. So as soon as you get to the bar, you can launch it. This one, as you set up, you're setting up, your feet are set, and then breathe as you go down. And he's bracing as he's breathing, and he's ready. That's the way I personally do it, but guess what? Didn't do that to begin with. I started at the, I started trying to mimic the top breathers because they're big deadlifters. Guess what? I'm not that guy. So we start at the bottom. Even then, when you're starting at the bottom, you're still going down with intent. He's still tight and everything's there. Now he's gonna breathe, brace, wedge, and go. And do you want to touch on more detail about that?
All right, so just a couple of things piggybacking off of what Brian just said as far as setting your breath at the top versus down. For me personally, I am not a big fan of teaching breathing at the top because there is more of a chance that a lifter is going to chest breathe in that position and they're going to flare the rib cage more before they come down to the bar, losing any sort of brace that they have, and it's just going to be very, very inefficient. So when we're in this bottom position here, it is physically impossible for me to lose my brace, right? I am not in a position where if I breathe in, my rib cage can flare. So it's gonna be much easier for me to breathe in through my diaphragm in that bottom position. Another big common misconception that we see is that people need to take the same sort of breath that they do for deadlifts as they do for squats, and that's not the case. We've talked about breathing and bracing mechanics for squat and deadlift in prior videos. For deadlifts, you benefit from taking a short breath in through the nose, filling that diaphragm a little bit, and then bracing through your core and your obliques, and then going down and setting up at the bar, or whether you do it at the bottom, either way. You don't need to take the same kind of breath because there's not an eccentric load that we have to stabilize under like the squat. So when we're picking up just a dead weight off the floor, not going to require the same sort of brace or a diaphragm like in a squat. So
What's fun is, if anybody's seen me, I've had a little bit of a high blood pressure issue. I've been able to work around that. Well, first of all, I've been lowering the blood pressure, but you can also work around that while you're working on it by learning how to breathe and brace better. Helps.
weird concept.
All right.
1, 2, 3, jinx nut it.
You're the model.
Models can't talk?
No. You ever seen a runway show?
All right, so now we're going to cover actually lowering ourselves to the bar, getting closer to actually executing the lift. So big thing with conventional deadlift setup and lowering ourselves to the bar is we want to make sure that we are hinging to the bar. All right, we're not squatting down to the bar. We're not getting out of position as we get ready to grab that barbell and execute the lift. So Amber's going to do here is she's going to perform. She's going to get those arms nice and long. She's going to set the lats and everything like that. She's taking her brace. Now what she's going to do here is she's going to hinge back, right? While she does that, notice that her shoulder position stays the same the entire time, right? She's not sitting back excessively or anything like that. Her shoulder stays directly over the bar as she hinges to the bar. She isn't squatting to the bar, right? A big mistake we see with people once they go to execute the lift is they've squatted themselves down to the bar, and when they go to actually raise the bar off the floor, their hips shoot back. So we hinge to the bar to make sure that our hips are as high as possible with a good torso position, right? We want both. We want our hips as high as possible while having as upright of a torso as we can. So she's lowering herself to the bar. Another thing that we kind of touched on earlier is lowering to the bar with intent, right? She is, when she begins to lower herself to the bar, she has the lats activated and tight here. She has her arms long, and as she hinges to the bar, she's not going to reach for the bar and get out of position. She's going to keep those arms close to her body the whole time. She hinges down to the bar nice and slow, and when she grabs the bar, there's tension there as soon as she grabs the bar. She's not relaxed. She's not moving around unnecessarily. She's not fidgeting. She's very tight, she's very rigid, and she's ready to execute the lift as soon as she grabs the bar.
Show the show what happens if you're reaching. This is just an example of what reaching is.
So a lot of lifters will set themselves at the top and then they'll lose it, and because they'll reach for the bar.
And then they're loose, and then you have to get re-tight at the bottom to try and get any ounce of really good power out of it.
Yeah, so
So a
you're
lot of people,
recreating
especially
tension.
who aren't increasing their deadlift at all during train cycle or or over the course of a year or two, look at your setup like this. A lot of people are losing that tension. They'll set themselves at the top, and then they'll just lose it. They'll get loose. They'll come down, then they have to try and create tension all over again.
Efficiency.
So another way to think about this with the deadlift is we want to think about getting this torso as short and compact as possible, right? We don't want to be stretched out. We don't want to be rounded forward. So we're gonna, like as we covered earlier, we have the shoulders packed down, arms long. She's imagining trying to just pack this down as short as possible. That way we can actually transfer power to the bar and execute the lift efficiently.
And a really good way to help you compact that is you can think about exhaling. So you notice as I exhale at the top, I actually allow myself to get a longer reach towards the bar, and my lats are still engaged. So I'm longer, my torso is now shortened, and I'm gonna hinge towards the bar, maintaining that tension and ready to pull with intent.
Okay, sounds weird, right? Because you're exhaling, breathing. It's not about how much air you're getting. You can get too much air. It's about getting the proper amount and bracing correctly.
This is also setting the ribs. Just like we talked about in the squats, we're also setting the ribs in the deadlift.
Okay.
Next thing here is the head position. So, in the conventional deadlift, you want to keep your head neutral pretty much the entire time. You want to keep it that way as you lower down. So, as you lower down, you don't want your head cranked back, coming down like this. You don't want to be overly looking down. Then you're going to lose tightness in your upper back also. Keep your head neutral. Chin kind of back, slightly down, not like this. Here. So as Amber comes down, her head's neutral position, good neutral position here. She's not looking too far down. Doesn't have her head cranked all the way back up, which all those will lead you to being out of position from your starting position or put you in a worse, less advantageous spot.
Watch right here. Put your head neutral. Okay, she's good, right?
Yeah.
Now watch what happens when she pulls her head up.
Everything
drops
comes back. So
Yeah.
her hips dip down. The first thing that's going to happen then now when she tries to pull is her hips are going to shoot up. Not what you want in a conventional deadlift. You want your hips as high as possible to where they don't shoot up at all during the lift. So nice neutral head position is going to keep that from happening.
Think of yourself as a pendulum. Nothing moves. You're in a nice hinged pattern from the head to your hips to your toes.
Oh, dude! Most important part of your setup: some sort of dance,
Oh yeah.
some sort of wackiness. You know, if you want to twerk it, get on there and do it.
I think that pretty much covers it.
Yeah.
That's the conventional deadlift setup. Next week we'll do sumo and damn it. Okay.
You can't do that.
I'm sorry. That's my bad. People suck, man. That's so dumb. Oh, you've been going this whole time? Thanks for coming by again for our conventional deadlift setup. That was a good one, man. We got a lot of good info on that. It was fun. So next week, come back for sumo. That one's, that might be even longer. You're going to want to, because I mean,
Got a lot of.
pretty good at it.
kind of good at this.
Pretty good at it.
Got a lot of
So,
secrets to share for that one.
yeah. Oh, but he's going to share his secret recipe?
Yep.
It's like mama's cookies.
Yeah, mama's zucchini bread.
Okay. Ooh, that's chocolate cake.
Yep. So keep an eye out for our sumo video.
Yep. So this is coming out on Friday. So next Friday will be the sumo video.
Yeah.
And then keep an eye on our Instagram. We do bi-weekly Q&As on Fridays. We'll post about it. We'll let you know ahead of time what time, where, and when, and all that good stuff. For our sake, please like, subscribe, turn on the notifications. What else we got?
Leave comments. for
Leave
future
comments.
videos.
Or suggestions. What do you want to see?
Yeah,
what
ask
would you like to
questions.
hear from us? Let us know.
We're here for you. Help us help you. guys.
That's it.